welcome to a new Harry's Garage video, and today's car is the new Aston Martin Vantage. And I've got the press release in my hands and it says Vantage engineered for real drivers. Now, we looked at this car in detail back in February and I loved the spec on it. They've really gone to town on this. This is their ultimate sports car. It's also going to be their race car as well. And you can see that in its spec. Top speed, 202 miles an hour, 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds. And with the AMG V8 reworked to Aston spec, 665 horsepower. So huge amount more horsepower than before. It's about 110 horsepower more, 30% more power. And I think it looks terrific as well. So much engineering going into this car to make it the definitive front-engined Aston sports car. Let's go and have a closer look. I have to say this car is particularly striking in its Cosmos orange paintwork. That is an extra, yeah, £6,700 to have that. I ought to discuss pricing as we go around this car because £165,000 is its base price, but not in the spec you're seeing here, and I was surprised how quickly the numbers add up. So on this car you'll see it's got carbon fibre splitter at the front. It's also got this black badge in here, dark grille you have to spec. I tell you, ordering a car today, there are so many options you now have to run through before, I just want an Aston Martin Vantage, but no, there's pages and pages of things, boxes you have to tick. You come round and it's got these new generation Michelin Pilot Sport S5 tyres that have been developed specifically for this model, and 21-inch wheels. They're also an option, £1,000 for that. And then, yeah, if you want, it normally comes on steel brakes. If you want the carbon ceramic brakes you see here, that's £10,000. Black caliper, £1,400. So you can see how it starts to add up. I think its side profile is just fantastic. There's more muscle to it. It's got this wider track. It's significantly wider at the front, and then here as well. Again, carbon. See down there along the bottom sill, you'll see a rear diffuser in carbon as well, and roof in carbon on this press car. If I look at the numbers for those, well, you've got £3,220 for the roof, £12,500 for that lower carbon and upper carbon with the mirrors, etc. So with all those extras added up, well, it's around £50,000 worth of extras. So this car, as you see it, is nearer to £215,000 than the 165 list price. Quite chunky. This is the look of Aston. This is their rear design. It's carried in DBX. Yeah, it was also, previous Vantage, but this is a better looking interpretation of it, and quite an aggressive diffuser, all in carbon. Huge amount of carbon, so I suppose that's why it's a huge amount of money as well. And again, this in black as well is something you have to spec. One nice thing on here, it's a practical car. If I quickly, you can't open the boot from outside, but if I just do that, you see there, there's a hint of practicality around this car, quite a big boot there, and then this other area behind the seat. We will look at it outside when there's a bit more light. I bet that's an option as well, but it seems to be on every Aston I ever see. It's the umbrella there strapped to the boot lid. Let's have a look at the engine. There it is, and they're really quite proud how far they've tucked the engine back in the chassis on this. There's the centre wheel line, you can see the top of the towers, and it's almost behind. Now, you also see there's two turbos here. This is a hot V engine, so the turbos are up top, so that's the heat shields all going on here as well, and a significant bracing between the suspension towers. So much stiffer chassis setup on it, all to enhance how it's dynamic. So let's take it outside, take it for a drive. It's another car that I have to be careful getting in because it has these sports seats, 16-way sports seats, and a very hard carbon fibre ridge just as you get in, which could cause a slight accident. Right, anyway, we have the new interior in the Aston, obviously in the Vantage next generation. We've seen it in DBX and obviously DB12. And yeah, I'm going to start the engine up because it takes a while to do all its things. And to start this, it just seems to take time to start up. I noticed from cold, it just takes a while to boot up, as it were. And you want to boot it up because this being A 2024 car, you have to turn all the assistant stuff off, which I'll do in a moment. But yeah, general layout. Small instruments in front, and a screen in front of me. Unfortunately, no dials now, just these two screens. Small digits, a lot of people commented on it. I will join the chorus. They are too small. I can just about see it's 16 degrees outside on the day. Tiny script on it. And then down here we have these lovely scrolls for temperature. You can do that, really nice feel. Just quite delicate. When you're driving, you tend to go up like 4 degrees on the temperature or something like that. And the other bit I'm not quite sure about is they're just, if I do heated seats, it's a touch sensitive black, all ready to smudge and things. And the one bit I don't like is if I put it into drive like that and I press manual, this just doesn't feel very sporting as a way of turning it from between manual and auto to me. A comment. Behind, a little bit of space behind, not huge. You could just about throw a coat back there, but you do get a glove box, which is good, and you do get fairly generous door pockets, so they have thought about that. And there's wireless charging underneath there, which I can see my phone there, and it of course does CarPlay wirelessly as well. So what else? Little hatch in there. Yeah, charging points are in there if should you need them. Seats once you're in are good. Oh, another thing, I'm going to mention it probably in the drive as well. The height of the dash and the bezel, it just feels as though I'm looking out. There is no view, from my view outside, there is no bonnet, no nothing. A little screen to look out at. Just high, just a very enclosed feel. Do like the vents though. Yeah, twist in the middle, work an absolute treat. Other manufacturers, please take note, it is the best way to control vents. Not in a screen you have to dive in, just with mechanical vents like that. Lecture over. Right, I'm going to put it into drive and off we go. And it sets off in this sport mode. There is no GT mode in a new Vantage. It's sport, sports plus or track. Anyway, let's head out, go find some better roads. Probably worth me just showing you how you do turn all the speed awareness stuff off. You go to this assistance and you work your way down this, and traffic line, visual and audible, no, I'll turn that to off. Speed limit warning, lane assist, I'm going to turn that off. Deactivate, lane departure, deactivate. That's it, isn't it? It's just, it's what we have to do now in today's cars. If you buy a new car, it's compulsory to have that technology fitted, and yet we're all turning it off, which just seems mad to me because it's expensive tech. Anyway, let's get going. It's quite punchy, as you can tell from there. Gruff V8 sound. Can't help but say there's an AMG sound. It's also now an Aston sound as well, and reasonably noisy on a coarse surface. I measured it at 77 decibels on my bit of road, but it doesn't take much coarser sort of surface than this, and you're well into the 80s. It is quite noisy in here. Civilised though, cruise, because obviously it's 8-speed automatic gearbox, transaxle, so sitting in the back axle. And yeah, pleasant car to be. Good visibility from these mirrors as well. Fine, they're not quite as nice design as the previous ones, but hey, that might be just me. All sorts of different displays you can have up here as well. I have tyre pressure, and on here, I don't know why, I have torque and power, which is known as telemetry. But yeah, various things you can do, different modes on here. And then on here, I can change between my settings. So actually, if I go to driver mode, there we are, I'm in Sports Plus. There's no GT, so Sport, and if I go one click back, then I've got individual, but Sport it's where it starts, rather than GT as you get on DB12 things. So I'm going to put it into Sports Plus for this squirt up the hill, and all in auto mode, 25 miles an hour, hitting the D limit. What happens? Here we go. Yeah, it took a bit of waking up then because we've been cruising through town, and then, whoa, it hits. And there's serious torque going to the back. There's a little squirm as we just came second to third there. It is mighty quick, this car. We're running out of adjectives to describe how quick today's cars are, but this is right at the upper end. It feels sort of overpowered really. It's making those back wheels really work. Those tyres have got their hands full with delivering the power to the tarmac, which is sort of good. And when you lift 110 horsepower up on where it was before. They claim 3.5 to 62, and I see Autocar have figured one of these, and they got 7 seconds to 100 miles an hour, which is my benchmark, which is pretty flipping quick. Interestingly, the bit that gets me is they also tested that AMG GT 63 that I had in recently, heavier, about 80 horsepower down. That did 7.4 seconds to 100 miles an hour. So it's a mighty, mighty engine, this AMG unit. And yeah, the weight thing. I did weigh this car actually. I put it on a weigh bridge because I was intrigued. They only claim a dry weight of 1605, so it went 1740 kilos. So that's to be expected. But it is Aston Vantage, for whatever reason, have always been a bit on the chunky side. Whatever, they always have a higher curb weight than you'd really want. Right, now I'm going to go to manual. I'm going down my favourite bit of road. I'm going to flick down a few gears. Third, might try second just round here. Turn in. I'm conscious of I am front engine there. Just a slight step out. Yeah. It is very sporting. If I just try its ride down here, I ought to just give it a kind of time in sport. It's knobbly, the ride. It never really relaxes, the ride here. You are definitely in a sports car. There is no bumpy road setting and surprising bump absorption. No, it will fight the surface. It's a sports car. And if you go up to Sports Plus, yeah, it just ratchets up the dampers slightly more. Obviously, it's on conventional springs here. There's no air springs or anything like that. And let's have a look at deflection. I noticed there's a chassis set up in the glove box. Yeah, you see over there, it doesn't handle that bump very well. It's reasonably sound. It's got quite a lot of negative on the front and rear. A bit of towing, just going that way, but nothing like as mad as that GT3 I had in. It's okay for that. I would expect it from such a sporting chassis setup. Right, try it over these bumps down here. Just as I expected, but it stepped out there one time in the wet a couple of days ago, which surprised me. It is a very active car, but pointed, 2.2 turns lock to luck. Yeah, felt good round there, I have to say. It also introduces this traction control system to Aston Martin, which is quite sophisticated. It measures all sorts of yaw and pitch. It has a very clever control unit looking at all the parameters and then builds it into the very sophisticated ESP system. And you can adjust it. I'm in it now. I can go, I think, 1 to 9. Sort of 5 is in the middle. I just put it down to 4 for on-road. No doubt you'd go down to the 1s and 2 if you're on track. You have to, it's a bit fiddly to get in. You have to press and hold when then it comes up in off and track, and then you hold again and it gets you into the system. But worth doing, I think, for on-road driving. I'm going to put it back into manual. I suppose we ought to start going through this car. Likes and dislikes. Well, where do we start? Yeah, on the dislike side, it is, I mean, it's good, it's wide track, that gives it the stability, but it's just a big car now, this Vantage. When it was introduced, it was sort of much smaller, more dainty, more 911-like, I suppose, but that's got bigger as well. But yeah, it is a bigger car than I realised when I got behind the wheel. It's close to DB12 now. And that car has got more sporting. Well, so has this one. This is very definitely on the outer edge of what's bearable as a GT day-to-day car. This is sporting with capital letters. Let's just try it around here. Low geared as well. as you can hear it there. Yeah, it's whoa, I just hear it light up its tires. It's got electronic diff, it's fighting the torque and the horsepower through those sort of corners. Yeah, just squats as you come out of there. It keeps you concentrated, this car. If you want to actually get maximum out of this car, my goodness, you're on your toes. Forget about the amazing sound system and all that lot. You need all your brain cells engaged, and then it's quite rewarding. But I'm surprised just how aggressive it is. Not a dislike. I suppose the price, God, we've moved up in the stratosphere into the pricing. As I say, when it came out, up against 911, market has moved on. We're 20 years almost, I suppose, since it was launched, original Vantage, and now it's not a 911 rival to me. In the crosshairs is the Ferrari Roma. That is the car it's after. Equally aggressive, much quicker than expected, more svelte sort of body, and I'm going to come up in the conclusion just discussing those two again. But it is, yeah, pricey, this car. It's so close to DB12. I'm a bit surprised by that. Lots of lights though, because my God, it's a handsome thing. When you sit it outside your house, you think, wow, that is exactly what I want an Aston Martin to look like. And it's great that they've modernised the interior. I do feel as though it's somehow, even though it's expensive, it sort of feels value. It feels very special, very Aston. It's what I want, personal to me, and I like that about it. I also like the way it has no tech on it. There's no hybrid tech. This is a pure driving machine. That was its focus from the start of development. But yeah, conclusions on this car. It's a hard one, this one. I expected to absolutely love it. And yet I'm slightly struggling. It is so hardcore. It has surprised me. And in 4 days of using it on various types of roads, I've never really found its sweet spot. I find it's fighting the surface of this road I use regularly. This is a challenging road. That is why I use it. It does not flatter cars in any way, and this just thumps its way down there. It doesn't absorb, it doesn't breathe with the road surface as some great cars do. They make great noises in all the puff and the PR that comes with the car, that they've got this great bandwidth on the dampers, 500% more than before, but they don't seem to be using it. They've got a higher spring rate, and that limits the way it can breathe over a road. It's so firm that you don't get a bumpy road section on for tarmac like this. It is more extreme. It feels as though it's been spent a lot of time on track doing setup, and then the road bit came at the end, is how I sense how this car is. And that, I mentioned the Ferrari Roma before, that is a pure road car, and there's no competition version of it. There is very definitely a GT3 version of this, and they were developed side by side, and I sense that from behind the wheel. And yet it's a heavier car. It's 250 kilos heavier than a GT3, and it's racing against, you know, McLaren, Porsche GT3s, Ferrari 296 Cup car, that sort of thing. With a front engine car, you're at a slight disadvantage trying to get that dynamics into the car. And does that compromise it also as a road car? Maybe. I kind of wish that they'd develop a mid-engined Aston Martin as their most sporting model. I think it would be a purer car. It would be against what Aston are known for, but I think it would help them in today's market. I feel enclosed, I feel like I'm in a GT, but I would be quite tempted with a DB12, because that's more what I expect an Aston to be like. If you want a super sporting Aston, this is the car for you. You will have fun. It is a hooligan of an engine, and the handling with that adjustable traction control, I really like. It's got that tech on board as well. So there you go. Slightly confused, not a massive 5-star car for me, probably 4.5. Great all the same. Have enjoyed it. It's just not the car I expected it to be. Did enjoy this video. keep watching, keep subscribing, more videos coming along very soon.